Isn't she lovely? Here she is receiving a secret letter from her husband and her children. It's so secret that it's caught on camera for a podcast on YouTube. Crying on cue, forgive me for my cynicism. And in that very same podcast, we discover that, she couldn't resist, could she? Meghan Markle using HRH despite not being prepared to put the work in and fleeing the royal family, because it turns out that it's actually a job and an exhausting one at that. And I suspect she thought that it would all be dresses and tiaras. But sadly, alas, no. Shock horror, Meghan. It's hard work. And in particular, for someone like you, and I say this, with all respect, you see, part of the job is being really nice to people, especially the public. And if reports are to be believed, you, Meghan, often aren't. But to be fair, as ever, Meghan, you're not here to defend yourself, so I'm not going to go straight in there. Although I am sure that the Sussex squad will be there to come to your aid. The online trolls, bullies that use the name that you've acquired to launch savage attacks on people like me or anyone who dares to criticise you at all. It turns out Meghan Markle she's risked breaking her Megxit agreement with the late Queen after a podcast revealed that she actually used the title Her Royal Highness, or HRH. The revelation actually came during a 90-minute podcast chat with her friend, cosmetics entrepreneur Jamie Kern-Lima. Now, in it seems that the runaway former royal sent Jamie a sickly sweet basket containing homemade strawberry sauce and ice cream, with a thank you card signed with compliments of HRH, the Duchess of Sussex, despite actually agreeing not to use the title 5 years ago at the Sandringham Summit on January the 30th, 2020, with the late Queen Elizabeth II at her Norfolk estate. During the podcast, the image of the basket which she sent appears, and Meghan then recounts a story about the reason behind the delivery. This is what she said. I knew when I dropped off the strawberry, it wasn't even preserved, as it didn't have time to set. I just made it quick because we had a lot of strawberries at the time. Sorry about the voice. Maybe I'll do this one normally. She goes on to say, I just knew that even if we never talked about it, that it would brighten your day. It's a perfect gift, cold and sweet. Oh, isn't she just lovely and so sweet?
Meghan Markle just made headlines again, but not for what she said. It's what she didn't say that's raising eyebrows. And now, royal watchers think she's sending a subtle but powerful message about her title and her future. At a recent event, Meghan signed her name simply as Meghan, with no royal title, no Duchess of Sussex, no HRH, nothing. Now, on the surface, that might seem like a classy move, or just a formality. But royal insiders say this could be a deliberate message. A message to Buckingham Palace, and maybe even to Prince William. Let's back up for a second. When Meghan and Harry stepped back from royal duties in 2020, the Queen allowed them to retain their Duke and Duchess titles, but they were no longer allowed to use the HRH, or Her Royal Highness, styling in public or for official work. The deal was clear. They were still royals, but they couldn't act like working royals.
Pity she couldn't extend some of that sweetness to her own father, who has, apparently, by all accounts, never actually met Harry, was pretty much cast aside after he supposedly leaked information to the press. His version of events does differ from Meghan's, but, well, you'd think that, given the stories both her and Harry have shared publicly, remember the one where she said someone in the royal family was, potentially a racist, and to the detriment of the royal family, that she might see it in her heart to forgive, he's been given the cold shoulder. You wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of her. Unfortunately for Meghan, the use of her HRH title on the gift note is clearly visible and appears to contradict the reported agreement made when she and Prince Harry gave up their roles as working royals and decided to leave their roles for good. Now, when the Duke and Duchess of Sussex stepped back from their royal duties, they retained their titles, but agreed not to use them. So unless there's other information that we're missing, it does look a little bit like a breach. But TV presenter and journalist Ellen Coughlin didn't seem to agree with me. Now, Meghan Markle has reportedly used her HRH title on a gift card, violating the Megxit agreement with the late Queen Elizabeth II. Joining me now is TV presenter and journalist Ellen Coughlin. Ellen, thank you very much for joining me. Ellen, this is a clear breach, surely. She had a deal with the Queen and that they could leave the royal family, as in working royals, and they would not be allowed to use the HRH, although they could keep it.
So there's slight semantics around this. Apparently, they were allowed to keep their royal titles, and
Yes, they were.
Harry would be known as His Royal Highness still. They just were not allowed to use it commercially because they wanted to become financially independent from the royal family, which is fair enough. So that note that we saw today, that actually wasn't part of Meghan's As Ever brand. It was a gift that she personally had gifted to her neighbour, Jamie. And this was a gift that she gave to her neighbour when she moved to California in June 2020. So she's allowed to use it personally. It's just today the picture was shown online.
But so you're saying that this podcast, which has millions of people viewing it, is not a commercial venture, her going in and talking about herself. And when that's shown on the screen where we get to see the HRH, you would say that this isn't a PR exercise, which PR is obviously a commercial venture to promote your brand or who you are.
So now, a few years later, why would Meghan actively leave out the title, even in private correspondence or casual settings? Some believe it's part of a quiet rebranding. Meghan has been distancing herself from the royal label, focusing instead on philanthropy, media, and personal projects. This latest move could be her way of saying, I don't need the title. I've moved on. But here's where it gets more interesting. Behind closed doors, sources say Prince William is watching closely, and he's not exactly pleased. William reportedly believes the Sussexes have repeatedly blurred the line between royal privilege and private enterprise. From the Netflix series to the Oprah interview, the question has always been, are they using their royal status when it suits them? So when Meghan leaves out HRH, it creates a paradox. Is she respecting the monarchy's rules, or is she subtly reminding everyone that she could use the title if she wanted to? And make no mistake, titles matter, especially in the royal world. The HRH styling isn't just a formality. It's a symbol of status, duty, and loyalty to the crown.
You don't think that is what that is?
This jam gift basket was gifted to Jamie 5 years ago in 2020. They just showed up the image today during the podcast because they wanted to speak about their friendship and something sweet that Meghan did when she became a neighbour of Jamie's. It wasn't anything to make money off of the podcast today. Everybody knows that we can refer to Meghan as...
No, hold on. You can't... Meghan Markle knows full well that millions of people will view the podcast, right? And listen to the podcast. So this image was actually totally unnecessary if they simply wanted to do that. And they could have blurred the image, but they didn't. So the fact that they've used this with the HRH is surely a breach of the agreement, which was that the podcast itself is commercial. So she is showing it in a commercial environment. I can't see how you could argue against that.
Well, I don't think showing the image flashed up on screen for a few seconds was promoting the podcast. I would say something.
No, but she's using the HRH in a commercial environment. So that is showing in a commercial environment. And she is the product. Meghan Markle is the product. She is selling what she does. She's an influencer. She's selling this. So she goes on something that is a commercial entity, like somebody else's podcast. And that HRH is placed within that environment. That is a commercial use of the title.
But she's not making money from the title. They're just showing that she had written a letter 5 years ago to a neighbour and it just popped up on screen. Like, I can't see her making money from it. I would say something if this was on her as ever brand jam and then it was that note, then I would say, okay, she's probably in breach of that. But I will say there was no contracts or anything like that. This was just a verbal contract that they had with the Queen. And I'm sure they're sticking to
A
that.
verbal contract is actually in law a contract. And even though this is not selling a product, in a commercial environment where there are millions of viewers, that would be considered a commercial thing. If I was to go onto somebody's podcast where there's got millions of views and I showed something I've done and it had something that leads to me and talks about me, I would say that's commercial. But I will leave it there. We'll agree to disagree. Thank you very much. Ellen Coughlin, thank you so much. She's a TV presenter and a journalist.
And when someone voluntarily leaves it out, it raises questions about identity, allegiance, and maybe even future intentions. Is Meghan saying goodbye to the monarchy once and for all? Or is this just another strategic move in a long game of image control? And what about Prince William? He's next in line for the throne. Every move Meghan and Harry make is being studied not just by the press, but by the palace. One former royal aide even said, William sees these small decisions as signs of bigger patterns. He's not just watching, he's keeping score. So what do you think? Is Meghan Markle stepping away from royal life for good? Or is this just another subtle chess move in a very public royal rift? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take on it. And if you're following the royal drama as closely as I am, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell so you don't miss what's next. Because in the world of royalty, even a missing title can speak volumes.